Okay. Let me open up. Bhagavatamrita. On 1.11 onwards. Okay. Two point 1.11. 2.1.11 minutes for the whole day. Okay. Vande Rupa Sanatana, Prabhu Shri Jiva Gopalaka. Bhogante Muhuravrittim, Ete Sarve Prayanti, Maharadi Katah Kechin Muchante Brahmana Saha. But when their enjoyment ends, all these persons must return to this mundane earth. Only a select few of those who have reached the planets of Mahar and beyond are liberated along with Brahma. तत्र च ये सखामाः ते पुनः पुनः जन्म लभन्ते ये च केवलं स्वधर्ममात्रनिष्ठाः निष्कामाः ते भोगान्ते मुच्यन्ते. So this is a further discussion about these persons. So amongst these, those who are materialistic, they simply continue to experience rebirth. But those who are simply engaged in their swadharma, material swadharma or purification, they don't cultivate material desires, and so they are liberated. Teshu kechit samyak vairagya rahita maharlokado bhogan bhuktva mahapralaye prapte brahmana saha muchyante. Amongst them, there are some who do not have full-fledged renunciation. So they experience the happiness of residing in Maharloka and so on. And when the Mahapralaya or great dissolution occurs, they are liberated along with Brahma. Oh. Okay. Materially ambitious persons must accept repeated births. Among them, persons dedicated exclusively to prescribing Vedic duties can achieve liberation when they finish enjoying the results of their good works. For persons whose renunciation is incomplete, one path of gradual liberation is to enjoy subtle pleasures on the Mahar, Janas, Tapas, and Satyaloka, Satya planets for a long time, and then become liberated along with Lord Brahma when the universe is finally destroyed. केचिच्च स्वेच्छया अर्चनादिमार्गेण भोगान् भुञ्जाना क्रमशो मुच्यन्ते इत्येतदाह भोगान्ते इति सार्धेन. And then there are some who by their own desire, they are enjoying the benefits, material benefits, while traveling on the pathway of light, Archiradi. That's the technical name of that pathway. And they gradually become liberated. This is noted in the text, in 1.5 lines of text, beginning with Bhogante. Another gradual path described in the Upanishads and Vedanta Sutra is known as Archiradi. On this path, the progressing candidate travels one last time through the higher regions of the universe, enjoying in each of several intermediate stages and bodies more and more subtle until he attains liberation. Bhogasya ante avasane sati muhuravrittim punar prayanti labante bharata varsha adau. So the persons who after experiencing the material happiness, when they again come back for rebirth, they attain that in Bharata Varsha and other places. Tatha cha Shri Bhagavad Gita Su, as it is noted in Shri Bhagavad Gita. Traividya Mam Somapa Putapapa Yagyeritva Swargatim Pratayante Te Punyamasadya Surendra Lokam Ashnanti Divyam Divideva Bhogan Te Tam Bhuktva Tetam Bhuktva Swargalokam Vishalam Shilne Punye Matyalokam Vishanti Evam Tri Dharma Manu Prapanna Gatagatam Kama Kama Labhante Iti. Karmis who do not progress toward liberation enjoy heavenly pleasures temporarily and then come back down to material endeavors on lower planets. As Shri Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly, purified of sinful reactions. They take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights, when they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure, and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment, by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas, achieve only repeated birth and death. Mere elevation to the highest planets of the universe cannot assure one liberation from birth and death. One must give up all material desires. Tatha abrahma bhuvana loka punaravartino arjuna iti. As Shri Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death takes place. Mahar lokadikam prapta adi shabdena janas tapas satyaloka kechin nishkamas brahmanasah iti yavadadhikaram adhikarinam iti nyayena yada brahma muchyate tada tevi mukta bhavanti artha. So there are some who simply execute as material duties without a desire to enjoy the material benefits of those duties. Nishkama swadharma para. They are engaged in their material swadharma, but without a desire to enjoy the sense objects. And they become liberated along with Brahma in accordance with the statement in Vedanta Sutra that those who are gradually progressing and if they have official duties to perform as demigods, they get liberated until they get liberated only after they complete their official tenure. Yada Brahma Muchyate, when Brahma is liberated, Tadati Mukta Bhavanti. Then they also become liberated along with him. Only persons fully dedicated to selfless work can join Lord Brahma in attaining liberation. Tatha Choktam, as it has been stated, Brahmana Sahate Sarve Samprapte Pratihanchare Parasyante Kritatmana Pravishanti Parampadam Pratisanchare Mahapralaye Parasyante Dviparardhante Kritatmanaha Shuddha Chittaha. The fully successful transcendentalists who enter the Supreme Abode along with Brahma during the final annihilation, at the end, enter the Supreme Abode along with Lord Brahma, during the final annihilation, at the end of Brahma's life. Kritatmanaha in this verse, or fully successful, indicates that their minds are pure. Kechit kramena muchyante bhogan bhupparchiradishu labhante yataya sadhyo muktim jnana parahiye. Some persons enjoy pleasures in upper regions like the realm of fire and attain liberation gradually in stages. And ascetics fully devoted to spiritual knowledge quickly obtain liberation. Kechit yogapara shruti anusarina archi shabdena atra agni abhimanini devata grihyate adi shabdena shishmara chakradi. Yathoktam Shri Shukadevena Tritiya Skandha. Expert practitioners of yoga can follow the Archaradi path, which is noted in the Shruti. The first destination on this path is Archis, or the region ruled by the god of fire. Beyond Archis are other regions such as the circle of Shishumara. In the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Shri Shukadeva Goswami elaborates on the yogi's progress on the Archaradi path. Vaishvanaram yati vihaya sagata sushumnaya brahma pathena shochisha vidhuta galkotha harerudasta prayati chakkam nripa shaishumaram. O king, when a mystic passes over the Milky Way by the illuminating Sushumna to reach the highest planet Brahmaloka, he goes first to Vaishvanara, the planet of the deity of fire, wherein he becomes completely cleansed of all contamination. And thereafter, he still goes higher to the circle of Shishumara to relate with Lord Hari, the personality of Godhead. Tad Vishwanathan Vatya Vishnu Aniyasa Vir Rajayanatmanaika Namaskritam Brahma Vidamupait Kalpayisho Yad Vivdharamante. This Shishumara is the pivot for the turning of the complete universe. And it is called the navel of Vishnu, Garbhodavashayi Vishnu. The yogi alone goes beyond the circle of Shishumara and attains the planet Maharloka, where purified saints like Vidvan enjoy a duration of life of 1,000, million, billion, 4 billion, 300 million solar years. That planet is worshipable, even for the saints who are transcendentally situated. Atho anantasya mukhanalena dantahyamanam saniriksha vishvam niryati siddhi purajuštadhishnyam yadvai parardhyam tatuparameshyam. At the time of the devastation of the universe, a flame of fire emanates from the mouth of Ananta. The yogi sees all the planets of the universe burning to ashes, and thus he leaves for Satyaloka by airplanes used by the great purified souls. The duration of life in Satyaloka is calculated to be, what is this, 1,000, million, billion, trillion, 15 trillion, 480 billion years. Nayatra shoko na jarana mrityu Nartir na chodvega rite kutashchit. Yakchit tatoda Rapayanidam Vidam Durant Dukha Prabhavanu Darshana. On that climate of Satyaloka, there is neither bereavement, nor old age, nor death. There is no pain of any kind, and therefore there are no anxieties, save that sometimes there is a feeling of compassion for those unaware of the process of devotional service, who are subjected to unsurpassable miseries in the material world. Tato Vishesham Pratipadya Nirvaya Tenatmanapo Nalamurtiratvara Jyotirmayo Vayam Upetya Kale Vaivatmana Kham Brihadatmalingam. After reaching Satyaloka, the devotee is able to be incorporated fearlessly by the subtle body in an identity similar to that of the gross body. And one after another, he gradually attains stages of existence from earthly to watery to fiery, glowing, and airy until he reaches the ethereal stage. Kranena Gandham Rasanena Vairasam Rupam Chidrishtya Shvasanam Kuchaiva Shrotrena Chopetya Nabho Gunatvam Pranena Chakutim Upaiti Yogi. The devotee thus surpasses the subtle objects of different senses like aroma by smelling, the palate by tasting, vision by seeing forms, touch by contacting, the vibrations of the ear by ethereal identification, and the sense organs by material activities. Sabhuta Sukshmendriya Sannikarsham Manomayam Deva Mayam Vikaryam Samsadhya Gatya Sahatena Yati Vijnana Tattvam Gunasannirodham. The devotee thus surpassing the gross and subtle forms of coverings enters the plane of egoism. There he merges the material modes of goodness, ignorance, and passion in that point of neutralization, and thus reaches egoism and goodness. After this, all egoism is merged into Mahatattva, and he comes to the point of pure self-realization. Tenatmanatmanam upaiti shantam anandamanandamayovasane etam gatim bhagavatim gatoya savai punarneha vishajyatinga. Only with the purified soul can attain the perfection of associating with the personality of Godhead in complete bliss and satisfaction in its constitutional state. Whoever is able to reach such devotional perfection is never again attracted by the material world, and he never returns. Yetu paramahamsaha te dehante eva muchyante tyaha labhante. But those who are paramahamsas, they are liberated at the end of that very life. This is the gradual way of liberation. The Paramahamsas, however, are liberated immediately at the end of their current life. Bhakta Bhagavato Yetu Sakama Pechaya Khila Bhunjana Sukhabhogam Ste Vishuddha Yanti Tatpadam. But even the devotees of the personality of Godhead who still have material desires can enjoy the pleasures they wish and then become fully purified and go to the Lord's abode. Evam karma jnana paranam sakama nishkama bhedena swargadi bhogam kalakrama muktim sadhyo muktim chautva. Shri Bhagavad Bhaktanam sakama kama bhedena prapyamaha bhakta iti dvabhyam. So having spoken about those who are focused on karma or jnana, on the basis of whether they are sakama or nishkama, whether they are materialistic or non-materialistic, and having stated about the different results, the results of experiencing heavenly delights and so on, or gradual liberation over time, or immediate liberation. Now he talks about, in two verses, beginning with text 13, talks about the results of devotees of Sri Bhagavan in terms of whether they are sakama or akama. Sakama means whether they are materialistic, akama means they have no desire other than the peace of God. Just a minute. Vaishnava devotees are more elevated than non-devotee Paramahamsas. Even a devotee burdened by material desires is in a better position than an impersonate free from such desires in a particular manner. Still, just as both karmis and jnanis are distinguished in terms of their relative freedom from ulterior desires, so also are bhaktas. Most karmis and jnanis can approach perfection only gradually. Only a few Paramahamsa jnanis achieve immediate liberation. Similarly, though all Vaishnavas are sure candidates for ultimate perfection, the Sakama Bhaktas, whose devotion to the personality of God is mixed with desires to control and enjoy, must first become purified. Sakama Bhakta ye khalu bhoga bhilashena bhagavantama bhajan eti artha. Svechaya ityanena karma paratantriyadikam nirasta. Akhilan ityanena trailokye maharlokadav acharadish tatha prapanchantargata shvetadvipa rama priyadi vaikunthe shvapi vartamana bhoga grihita. It is summarized here. Let me just go step by step. Okay, wait. There is a simple way for me to handle this. How do I include number one? Because unless I show you, how it is all connected, we want it to make sense. So, just one. Masta Bhagavatamrita. And here are the words, or rather the wordings. Can I get point out in further detail? Okay, here, Sakama with material desire. This indicates that Uttara Devi is speaking about those who are serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead with a desire for sense enjoyment. Swechaya, willfully indicates that they experience various material benefits without becoming dependent on the law of karma and so on. Akhilan ityanena, okay, Akhilan, what is that? Akhilan, all. So they experience happiness in various worlds, all kinds of worlds. That indicates that they experience material happiness that is found in the three worlds, in the four worlds beyond the three worlds, on the pathway of the Archaradi, the pathway of light, and Shvetadvipa, Ramapriya, and other Vaikunthas inside the universe. All kinds of desires, they freely and willfully enjoy. Sukha Mayan Bhogan. enjoyable pleasures. Ityanena Trailokyantargata Bhogastita Dosha Dukkadikam Nirakritam. This indicates that they experience these material pleasures without experiencing the contaminations of material enjoyment inside the three worlds, such as distress, Vishuddha, fully purified. Sanchinna Bhoga Vasanaka indicates that they are fully purified of the propensities for material enjoyment. Bhunjana, indulging in iti vartamana nirveshena bhoga kala eva bhagavad bhakti prabhavena vishuddhir uddishta. This indicates that here you notice this is in present continuous while they're indulging in these material pleasures. Even while they are enjoying by the force of devotion service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are internally fully purified. Tasya bhagavata padam anam yanti lasante. They go to that abode, meaning they go to that abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Still, although Sakama Bhaktas need further purification to qualify for entry into the kingdom of God, they should never be considered subject to the laws of material nature. Trying to write it a little bit so that I can see more clearly. Okay. They should never be considered subject to the laws of material nature like the karmis and jnanis. As stated here, Sakama Bhaktas live happily in this world, free from material restraints, Svekshaya. They are at liberty to visit all the regions of this world, including the highest planets, beginning with Mahar. They can reach the subtlest stages on the Archaradi path, and they can attain the Vaikuntha realms within this universe like Shvetadvip and Ramapriya, avoiding frustration from the deficiencies and miseries that taint every material situation. Sakama Bhaktas find happiness in this world, Sukhabhoga. Srila Sanatan Goswami uses the word Bhunjana, enjoying, in a form of the present tense to indicate that even while Vaishnavas are finishing up their last enjoyment of the material world, the power of the Lord's devotion service purifies them enough to demolish all obstacles in their hearts. Their material business finished, they then achieve the Supreme Lord's eternal goal. Okay. Vaikuntham Durlabham Muktai Sandrananda Chidatmakam Nishkama Yetu Tadbhakta Lafante Sadyeva Tat. That abode Vaikuntha is made of concentrated ecstasy and pure consciousness. Even for liberated souls, it is difficult to attain. But the Lord's devotees who are free from selfish desires reach it at once. Taddeva nirdishati Vaikuntham tatsangyakam tallakshanam samanyena kinchit Shri Shukena Uttamasti Pritiyas Kandhe. So then he points out that abode which they attain Vaikuntha refers to that place which is known as Vaikuntha. Vaikuntham indicates that that place is known as Vaikuntha. And it has been characterized in general by Sri Shukadeva Goswami in the second canto. Mother Uttara now tells her son Parikshit what she understands about the transcendental nature of Vaikuntha. Parikshit has heard similar general descriptions of the Vaikuntha atmosphere, nature of Vaikuntha, atmosphere from Shukadeva Goswami, the second and 10th cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. नयत्र कालो निमिषां प्रभुः कुतो नु देवा जगतां ईशिरे नयत्र सत्त्वं न रजसश्च न विकारो न महान् प्रधानम् परम पदम वैष्णवमामनन्ति तद् यन्नेति नेतीत्यतदुत्सिक्षवः विसृज्य दौरात्म्यमनन्य सौहृदा हृदोपगुह्यार्ह पदम पदे पदे. What to speak of the celestial demigods empowered to rule over mundane creatures? In that transcendental state, there is no supremacy of devastating time which controls even the demigods themselves. Nor is there the mode of material goodness, nor passion, nor ignorance, nor even the false ego, nor the material cause and ocean, nor the material nature. The transcendentalists desire to avoid everything godless, for they know that supreme situation in which everything is related with the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Therefore, a pure devotee in absolute harmony with the Lord does not create for purposes, but worships the lotus feet of the Lord at every moment, taking them into his heart. That's from the second canto. Then we get from the 10th canto. Tatha tatraiva. No, this is not 10th canto. This is second canto itself. Tasmai Swalokam Bhagavan Sabhajita Sandarshayamasa Param Nayat Param Japeta Sanklesha Vimoha Sadvasam Swadrishta Vasbher Purushai Avishtutam Pravartate Yatra Rajastamastayo Sapuncha Mishram Nachakala Vikrama Nayatramaya Kimuta Pare Hare Ranuvrata Yatra Surasura Archita. Very much satisfied with the penance of Lord Brahma. The personality of God was pleased to manifest this person abode Vaikuntha, the supreme planet above all others. That transcendental abode of the Lord is adored by all self-realized persons, freed from all miseries and fear of illusory existence. In the spiritual world, there is neither the mode of goodness, nor the mode of neither the mode of passion, nor the mode of ignorance, nor a mixture of both, nor is there adulterated goodness, nor the influence of time or Maya itself. Only the pure devotees of the Lord, who are worshipped both by demigods and by demons, reside in the spiritual world as the Lord's associates. Shri Dashamecha, and it is noted in the 10th canto. It is Sanchintya Bhagavan Mahakaruniko Vibhuhu. Mahakaruniko Harihi, it comes here. In Sri Sanatana Goswami's commentary, it comes as Vibhu, meaning is the same though. Darshayamasa lokam swam gopanam tamasah param satyam jnanam anantam yat brahma jyotis sanatanam yadhi pashyanti munayo gunapaye samahitah. After deeply considering the all-merciful Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari revealed to the cowherd men his abode, which is beyond material darkness, Lord Krishna revealed the indestructible spiritual effulgence, which is unlimited, conscious, and eternal. Sages see that spiritual existence in trance when their consciousness is free of the modes of material nature. Now in text 14 through 19, Uttara similarly explains in a general way the transcendental existence of Vaikuntha. Tamasa prakrite param lokameva vishinashti. So that world, that supreme abode, that supreme world, which is beyond tamas or beyond material nature, is now being characterized. Satyam ityadina. That is that. So that is being characterized in this 10th canto statement, Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Parabrahmana lokatve ghani bhaveva paryavasyati. In other words, the conclusion is that abode of the Supreme Lord, that is the concentrated nature of the Supreme Brahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. Idrisham Tad Padam, where is that? Muktay Api Durlabha, difficult to be achieved even by liberated souls. Etena Muktanam Prapyad Bhaktanam Prapyasya Paramotkarshitam Nirdishtaha. So from this it is understood that the goal of the bhaktas is far more exalted than the goal of the liberated souls. Kutaha, why is that so? Sandrananda Chidatmakam. Sandraha, ya Anandaha, Chicha, Jnanam, Tadatmakam Brahma Ghanam Nityatmaha. It is consisting of concentrated ecstasy and pure consciousness. This is concentrated spiritual substance. Muktanam cha atituksham eva sukham. The happiness of the liberated souls is most insignificant. Etacha agre vyakti bhavi. This will be revealed later on. Tasya bhagavataha bhaktaha. Tad bhaktaha. His devotees means devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They quickly indeed reach that Tat Vaikunthakhim Padam. Refers to that place known as Vaikuntha. Now in text 14 through 19, Uttara similarly explains in a general way the transcendental existence of Vaikuntha. The Lord's impersonal effulgence faintly reflects the spiritual atmosphere of Vaikuntha, which is the fullest manifestation of the absolute truth. Having re-established a personal relationship with the Lord, pure Vaishnavas attain Vaikuntha. Impersonates, however, at best, attain the Brahmajyoti effulgence, where they realize their eternal existence without knowing their relationship with the Lord or the ecstatic pleasure that comes from serving Him in that relationship. In other words, the Vaikuntha atmosphere is a super intensified version of the Brahmajyoti sky. And thus, the life enjoyed by the Lord's devotees in Vaikuntha is much more wonderful than the comparatively insignificant pleasure of merging into the Brahmajyoti. Tatra Shri Krishna Padaja Sakshat Seva Sukham Sada Bhudanu Bhavantaste Ramante Dhikratamrutam. The pure devotees living in Vaikuntha enjoy forever in varied ways the happiness of directly serving Shri Krishna's lotus feet. In comparison, the nectar of liberation appears condemned. Kidrisham tad Vaikunthe Ghana Sukham. What is the nature of that concentrated bliss in Vaikuntha? Tat Sankshepenaha Tatreti. That is now being briefly described in the text beginning with Tatra. Shri Krishna Padadja Yo Sakshat Aparokshena Seva Eva Sukham. This is talking about the happiness of direct service to the lotus feet of Shri Krishna. Bahuda nana prakarena sada anubhavantaha sakshat labhamanaha te vaikuntha-gata bhaktaha sarve tatra vaikunthe sada ramante. The residents of Vaikuntha, all of the residents of Vaikuntha, all of the devotees of the Lord, they experience this happiness in many ways. They directly experience this happiness in many different modes, in many different ways. Sada, always, constantly, Ramante, enjoys, while there is enjoyment. Bhagavata saha kridam kurvanti. So in this way, they are sporting with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tat seva rupa krida sukham anubhavanti ityartaha. They experience the happiness of sporting with the Lord in the form of serving Him. Etad vistarasya agre vaikuntha varnaya bhavi. This will be elaborated later on in the description of Vaikuntha. Idrisham sukham. What kind of happiness is that? Dhikritam. Atituchikritam amritam moksha sukham yena tat paramaghanatva. Oh, what kind of happiness do they experience? Oh, it is that kind of a happiness in which the nectar of immortality, the nectar of liberation, moksha sukha, is condemned. It is considered insignificant. For the residents of Vaikuntha, God is not a distant abstraction. They see him always and serve him directly. For them, that service is never tedious or degrading, but it's always sheer enjoyment. Jnana bhaktastu teshveke, shuddha bhakta pare pare, prema bhakta pare prema, para prema, tura pare. Among the Supreme Lord's devotees, some are devotees attached to knowledge, others are pure, still others are situated in love of God, others are immersed in love of God, and yet others are painfully overwhelmed by love of God. Idani teshameva bhava prapye nana visheshaha. Jnaneti sarthak chaturbhi. Now, he talks about various details within the goals experienced by these devotees of the Lord in terms of their attitudes. This is noted in 4.5 verses, beginning with the text, with text 16. Eke jnana bhakta, jnana mishra bhakti yukta, yatha bharatadaya. Some are jnana bhaktas, devotees attached to knowledge. They are engaged in bhakti that is mixed with jnana, just as Bharat Maharaj. Jnanamatra moksha tukshataya Sri Bhagavat Padapadma Bhakti Mahimadi Jnana. The knowledge that is referred to here, attached to knowledge, devotees attached to knowledge. What is that knowledge? That is knowledge about the glories of devotional service rendered unto the lotus feet of Sri Bhagavan, with the knowledge of the insignificance of liberation from material existence. Bhaktischa navavidha seva eva va. And the bhakti that is referred to here is the 9 types of bhakti. Shuddha bhakta pare. Pare shuddha bhakta. Karma jnana vairagya asambhinna bhakti yukta bhagavato bhakti matra kama yatha ambarish adaya. So then we have these Shuddha Bhaktas, pure devotees. These devotees are engaged in bhakti that is not mixed with karma, the practices of karma, jnana, vairagya, and so on. No, they are not in, it's not mixed with the practice of karma, jnana, vairagya. They simply desire to render devotional service to Bhagavan. Ambarish is a good example of this. Apare prema bhakta. Then there are the prema bhaktas, devotees in love of God. Saprema bhakti mantaha. These are devotees with love for the Supreme Lord. Nityatma sevitaha. Priyatama Prabhu Vara Charanaravindha Preeti Sangama Seva Matra Apekshakaha. They eternally serve from their hearts, from their souls. They are only dependent on service and loving association with the lotus feet of their excellent masters, who is most dear to them. Shri Hanuman, Yatha Shri Hanumadadaya. An example of a Prema Bhakta is Shri Hanuman. Pare Prema Paraha. Then we have the Prema Para, devotees exclusively dedicated to love of God. Bhakti anasatya prem naiva tatparyavantaha nirupati bhagavat kripa janita vishuddha parama premotpadita tad darshanotkanṭha darshana sakhya narma saukrudadi shrinkhalabadda. Those would not even just attach to bhakti, but they're intent on love for the Lord. They are completely bound up very tightly with an eagerness to see him, to meet him, to be friends with him, to joke with him, to have a relationship of good wishes and so on. In Parama Prema, in superlative love for him, which is very pure and which is born from the unconditional mercy of the Supreme Personality of God. Yatha Srimad Arjunadaya Pandava. For instance, the Pandavas, headed by our Sriman Arjuna, Pare Prematura. Then there are devotees painfully obsessed by love of God. Santata Prema Sampatya Vihvala. Those who are overwhelmed by the prosperity of constant love for the Lord. Vichitra Tat Prema Sambandha Akrishta Ashaya. Those whose hearts are attracted to loving relationship with him of several varieties. Yatha Srimad Uddhavadayaha Yadava. The Yadavas are good examples of this. Yadavas such as Sriman Uddhava. Yadyapi Bhagavat Prema Vina Vaikunta Praptirna Syat. Even though without love for Bhagavan, one cannot attain Vaikuntha. Tathapi bhava bhedena premnaiva taratam kalpaniya. But corresponding to the difference in attitude, one must accept that there is a gradation in terms of love for the Lord. Tatra cha shuddha bhakti rapi prema bhakkaveva yadyapi paryavasyati. Even then, even though your devotional service concludes in loving devotional service, Shuddha Bhakti concludes in Prema Bhakti. Tathapi, still, Shuddha Bhakti Bhya Prema Bhaktanam Prema Nishtha Visheshena Kaschid Vishesha Kalpanena. Still, one should understand that because of a special conviction that exists in the love of Krishna, that is found in the Prema Bhaktas, one should understand that there is still some distinction. Evam etebhyaha prema paranam tebhyascha prematuranam uhyaha. So in this way one can infer that there are some unique features in higher statuses of love of Godhead, such as the distinction between the Prema Bhaktas, Prema Paras, and Prema Atura, Prema Atura. So you have different statuses here. You have Jnana Bhakta, Shuddha Bhakta, Prema Bhakta, Prema Para, Prema Atura. Vaishnavas develop their love of God to different extents and thus in any given lifetime attain different destinations. Jnana Bhaktas cultivate devotion service mixed with the pursuit of knowledge. Their interests focus on subjects such as the greatness of devotion to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. For them, devotion service consists of activities within the ninefold practice of sadhana bhakti. An example of such a Vaishnava is Lord Rishabhadev's son, Bharat Maharaj. Next, Shuddha Bhaktas want only devotion service to the personality of Godhead without any mixture of fruitive work, knowledge, or renunciation. Ambarish Maharaj is a typical Shuddha Bhakta. Prema Bhaktas, like Sri Hanuman, are endowed with mature ecstatic love. They perpetually serve the Lord with full-hearted enthusiasm, being interested only in the loving affection, intimate association, and opportunities for service that they find at the lotus feet of their beloved Supreme Master. Still other devotees are Prema Parabhakta, like Sriman Arjuna and his brothers. They are not interested in the process of bhakti itself, but only in Prema, ecstatic love. By the causeless mercy of the Lord, entirely pure Prema of the highest quality has arisen in their hearts, binding them by ropes of eagerness to see the Lord and enjoy friendly talks and other intimate dealings with him. Finally, Prematura Bhaktas, such as the Yadavas, headed by Sriman Uddhava, are overwhelmed by the incessant bliss of Prema and the intense desire to relish all the transformations of that Prema and its related ecstasies. Although everyone in Vaikuntha has Prema, we must recognize different degrees of Prema. The natural perfection of Shuddha Bhakti is Prema Bhakti, which is higher because devotees who have reached Prema have special qualities not found in those who have attained only Shuddha Bhakti. And beyond Prema Bhakti, the Prema Para devotees are more elevated, and the Prematura devotees still more. Taratamya Vatamesham Phale Samyam Na Yujyate Taratamyam Tu Vaikunthe Kathanchit Ghatate Nahi. Since the levels of these devotees are various, it seems unfitting that the results they achieve be the same. But in Vaikuntha, no hierarchies exist. एवं एतेषां भक्तिसाम्येऽपि भावतारतम्यात् कापि अपि तारतम्यमेव उचितम् इत्याशयेनाह तारतम्यवतामि. So even though they're all engaged in bhakti and such in bhakti, they are equal. They're equal in the sense that they're all engaged in bhakti. Still, because of a gradation of their bhava, attitude, even in their respective goals, it is appropriate that there is a hierarchy. With this in mind, she speaks this verse, Taratamyavatam. Taratamyam nama nyunadhikatvam. Taratamya refers to a hierarchy. Something is lower, something is higher. Tadvatamesham panchavidha bhaktanam na yujyate ityasyahyam artha. So now, it seems unfitting that the results they achieve be the same. Jnana bhakti sakashat avashyameva shuddha bhakti tasyastu prema bhakti tasyastya prema para bhakti tasyapi prematura bhakti phala vishesham arhanti anyatha tasam aparyaptareva syat. The idea is this: Jnana Bhakti will lead certainly to Shuddha Bhakti. Shuddha Bhakti will certainly lead to Prema Bhakti. That will lead to Prema Para Bhakti, intense Prema. That will lead to Prematura Bhakti, devotional service in which one is painfully overwhelmed by bhakti. Palaveshesham arhanti anyatha tasam arparyaptareva syat. So it is appropriate that there are different results. Otherwise, it would not be sufficient or proper. किंच पृथक रुचीनां तेषां परम भक्ति मतां एकरूप फल दानेन अभीष्ट दानम अनीतित प्रापणं च भक्तवत्सलस्य परम कारणकस्य भगवतो महिमोचितं न भवति. Moreover, since they all have separate tastes, so for those who are engaged in the supreme form of bhakti, for them to attain to be, for them to be given the benefit of the same result, and to give them that which is not desirable, that cannot be considered to be appropriate glory, to be an appropriate glory for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is supremely compassionate and who is affectionate to his devotees. No, astu nama vaikuntha eva phalatartamyam kotra dosha. All right. So why not simply say that, okay, in Vaikuntha there is a hierarchy of results. What is wrong with that? Tatra ahatartamyam iti. And then, keeping that in mind, she speaks the second half of this verse. But in Vaikuntha, no hierarchies exist. Vaikuntasya sachidananda shanatve naika rupatvat tatra bheda na sambhavati ityarthaha. But because Vaikuntha is concentrated Sachidananda, so it is not possible that various differences can exist there without higher and higher levels of enjoyment and realization of the greatness of God. 5 different levels of bhakti would be incomplete. To award the same results to devotees of differing levels of attraction would not benefit the perfect and all compassionate personality of Godhead. And how could all the Lord's devotees be satisfied by only one kind of reciprocation? Thus, there is a need for hierarchy in the varieties of devotion and the corresponding moods in which the Lord reciprocates. In Vaikuntha, however, such a hierarchy is impossible to find because the atmosphere of that place is purely spiritual. Paryavastyati sarupya samithyado chatulyata nashruyate param prapyam vaikuntadhadikam kiyat. It follows that among devotees in Vaikuntha there is equality even in the special Vaikuntha perfections, such as living near the Supreme Lord or attaining a form like this. And a goal higher than Vaikuntha is unheard of. Nanu Vaikuntha eva tesham bhajananandadi samyepi kesham chet vichitra सारूप्यादि प्राप्त्या तथा श्री भगवत पत्र सदा पारमेश्वर्य लीला आविष्कार अपेक्षया कर्म सत्र ब्रह्म सत्रवत् केशामपि द्वारपालत्वादिना दूरस्थत्वेन बाह्यते एव केशाञ्चन पाद संवाहनादिना समीपवर्तित्वेन आन्तर्येणतयैव महाप्रभुं सेवमानानां तारतम्यं कल्पनीयम् इति चेत्. Now one may present an objection. Even though there is a distinction between the various types of bliss and so on that are found in devotional service executed by these different devotees in Vaikuntha, some of them, they attain varied types of liberation as a result of their devotional service, such as the Sarupya liberation. And in that abode, Sri Bhagavan constantly reveals his supremely opulent pastimes. Considering this, like the distinction between a Karma Sutra and Brahma Sutra, there are different types of sacrifices. There are sacrifices rooted on material duties, there are sacrifices rooted on spirituality. Some of the residents of Vaikuntha, they are gatekeepers and so on, far away. And they are external. In some others, they massage the lotus feet of the Lord. So they are close to him and they are internal, confidential, whereas these others are external. So in that way, we find that they're all serving the great Lord in different ways. So we can work out a hierarchy on that basis. Is it not? Tathapi paramartha vicharat samya patter aparyaptareva syat ityaha paryavasya titi. Now, by spiritual considerations, that would not be possible. Sarupyam Bhagavat Samana Rupata Chaturvijatvadya Samipyam Nikatavartita Parshitattvadi Rupa Adishabdena Senapatyadyatikaraha Tatha Pada Samvahana Kesha Prasadhana Adi Seva Vishesha Grahya Natu Sayujyam. So in that way there are different types of happiness. Sarupya is one type of happiness. Sarupya, the perfection of having a form like the Supreme Lord's, like having 4 arms and so on. Samipya, in the perfection of living in close proximity to the Supreme Lord, as a part of the entourage, Adau, and so on. That refers to the post of being the commander of the Lord's army and so on. Or special services, for instance, massaging the Lord's lotus feet, cleaning his hair, and so on. This does not refer to Sayujya. Tadhi Shri Bhagavat Smaranam Prabhavena tadvidveshi yoho api asurebhyaha diyamanam moksha eva paryavasthitam. That's because Sayujya is included in moksha, which is given even to the asuras, who even hate the Supreme Lord. By the influence of strong remembrance of Sri Bhagavan, they are given that. Tacha yatha katanchit bhagavantam sevamananam atyanta anadarinayam dhikkara aspadam. So somehow or other, when one serves the Supreme Lord, then it is given, then that impersonal liberation of Sayujya is given. So that is not very seriously respected, and it is simply an object of criticism. Nanu anyat kimapi taihi swasvabhava anurupam praptavyam. Then what else can be achieved in accordance with their natures? Tatra haneti. In response to that, she speaks the second half of this verse. And a goal higher than Vaikuntha is unheard of. Vaikuntha ashesha prapya parmantya kashtharupatva. It's not unheard, it's not heard of, nothing superior to that is heard of, because attainment of Vaikuntha itself is attainment of everything without limit. It is the final limit. Someone might think that even though all devotees in Vaikuntha share equally in the bliss of serving the personality of God, some hierarchy of greater and lesser engagements can be discerned. Indeed, it seems that in Vaikuntha, the Lord's pastimes of supreme rulership and opulence are manifest more fully to some devotees than to others. Just as in the material world, the Lord is more intimately revealed to devotees who worship him by Brahma Satra, the sacrifice of transcendental knowledge, than to those who worship him at the grosser level of Karma Satra, mere ritual sacrifice. In Vaikuntha, some devotees, such as those stationed there as doorkeepers at the boundaries of the Lord's kingdom, seem to be relative outsiders compared to devotees who have more intimate services, such as massaging the Lord's lotus feet. Ultimately, however, in Vaikuntha, all these varieties of devotion service are equal, displaying but minor variations in the mode of dasya rasa and reverence. The many kinds of Vaikuntha perfection are equal manifestations of the same basic servitude. Those perfections include Sarupya, having a body, transcendental body with 4 arms and other features like the Lord's, and Samipya, living close to the Lord as one of his associates or servants. There are also other such perfections. Those others implied in this verse by the ending Adau in the word Samipya Adau are attainments such as being posted as commander of the Lord's army, or as a personal servant massaging the Lord's feet or dressing his hair. Prasadhana, dressing his hair. The perfection of Sayujya, merging into the existence of God, is prized by impersonalists, but is not found in Vaikuntha. Rather than a devotional perfection, Sayujya is a form of personal liberation. Even demons who hate the personality of Godhead are sometimes given Sayujya as a reward for constantly meditating on the Lord as an enemy. But anyone who has tasted devotional service to the Supreme Lord rejects Sayujya, someone might ask. But can't a devotee in Vaikuntha achieve some special perfection by virtue of being exceptionally qualified? No, this verse replies. Since Vaikuntha is a place in which all desires are fulfilled, nothing there beyond the perfection is already easily available. It remains to be achieved. Okay, so I'll stop with that. Any questions? I'll just make a note. Context 19. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, I just wanted to check. We have these different types of liberation. No, we leave out Sayujya. We still have this Arupya, Samipya, and all that. What the basis for somebody attaining these different perfections? What would that be? Because we are also hearing from Rupa Goswami that we have to be Anya Bilashita Shunyam. So the desire for liberation also is not supposed to be there in the pure devotee. So then what would be the basis for somebody to attain these different types of liberation?
When Srila Rupa Goswami says Anya Bilashita Shunyam, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur carefully defines what desires are being considered to be Anya Bilasha in the first place. The desire for impersonal liberation, the goal of impersonalistic jnana, that is considered completely incompatible. The desire for sense enjoyment, gross subtle sense enjoyment or subtle sense enjoyment. That means in this life or in the next life, attainable through adharma or dharma. That is also within the bracket of Anya Vilasha. But in Vaikuntha, one may have desire for these various opulences in order to enhance his service to the Supreme Lord. These forms of liberation do not directly contradict devotional service to the Supreme Lord. That is discussed in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. That personalistic liberation does not directly contradict serving the Supreme Lord. So it is some kind of prema anukula moksha. It is not prema pratikula moksha. Impersonal liberation is prema pratikula moksha because you cannot have impersonalistic liberation and engage in prema seva, prema bhakti. But you can have salokya, sashti, sarupya, samipya with loving service to the Supreme Lord. So they have that kind of desire. That's allowed. Therefore, they are allowed to go to Vaikuntha. One cannot have these kind of desires and go to Goloka Vrindavan though. But in Vaikuntha, it is allowed.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, so it'd be fine. But, okay, my understanding was that in Vaikuntha, everybody has Sarupya. So, there are those who are not in the same form. They also, is it?
We will study about Vaikuntha later on.
Okay.
It is not just, it is a world of freedom. You can change forms as you will. One can have multiple forms also. Simultaneously.
Oh, okay.
So many things are there.
Okay. Okay.
So it is not without a reason why they want these kind of perfections.
Okay. 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 Yeah. Also, like wanting opulence seems like why would they want opulence? So same as the Lord, because that also seems like what you said. They would want the opulence maybe to serve the Lord in some particular manner or whatever. So okay. Yeah, I was getting a little, I mean, worried as to how these different forms are there when they're not supposed to have any desire at all.
No, not have any desire means not have any contradictory desires. Actually, they don't have desires which completely oppose it.
Okay.
Comes in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu.
Yeah, we've been reading Bhagavatamrita Sindhu. So when we looked at this liberation, different forms, as well as when we were reading saying that they should not have any desire. So we were just wondering how these forms are there and on what basis do they get these kind of liberations when they are not supposed to, or we hear that devotees don't have any desire for liberation itself. Then who's making this choice of the different forms? So that's why.
No. There are different groups of people. There are different types of. I think that in general, our devotees are highly confused about who goes where and why.
Okay, perhaps. Yeah.
Wait, which should. First of all, this is straight from Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan, all pervading in his writings. He keeps talking about three different types of devotees.
Okay.
It comes very extensively in Govinda Bhashya, in his commentary to Bhagavad Gita. He might be referring to it in his Ishopanishad commentary. He does talk about it in his Bhagavatam commentary. He brings it up in Siddhanta Ratna, Pramaya Ratnavali. I mean, it's just typical way of explaining. There are three different tracks. I will find some reason to explain in this very chart later on in greater and greater detail. But there are different goals that they are actually hankering for. You have one group of people who just want to serve the Supreme Lord. They have no desire for liberation at all. Even they have no desire for liberation compatible with Prema Bhakti also. Not to speak of Sayujya, they don't want even Salopya, Sashti, Sarupya, Samipya. And nor do they want to attain material happiness while making spiritual progress.
Okay.
You have another group which do have some desire for liberation. But this liberation is compatible with Prema Bhakti.
Okay.
But they're primarily interested in Prema Bhakti. And they have no desire for material happiness while making spiritual progress. Then you have another group in which they do have, you're allowed to have material desires while you make spiritual progress, as long as you have a desire that those material desires also vanish until you become qualified for liberation. And this liberation is also personal liberation. It's not impersonal liberation, compatible with Prema Bhakti. But they primarily want this and secondarily want this.
Mm.
So these ones, the first track, this is the Vedic track. I will refer to it as a Vedic track. See, it's very long because it takes several lifetimes.
Okay.
When they attain Brahmaloka with Lord Brahma, they get liberated. We already came across that in Bhagavatamrita.
Yes.
Then we come across certain devotees who attain liberation in one lifetime itself. That is this track 2. So this I will refer to as the Pancharatrika track.
Okay.
Then there is a track 3, which is the Bhagavata track. So in Bhagavata track, they have, of course, all of them, they have basic faith in Vedic knowledge, absolute faith that everything taught in the Veda is correct. But they develop different types of faith in devotional service. For instance, in track 1, they develop basic faith in what is called Guni Bhuta Bhakti, minimized Bhakti. They have faith that if every day I should dedicate some time of every day to Navavidha Bhakti. I should never ever touch Adharma. Adharma has I will not tolerate that at all. But I will carry out my material duties and I will cultivate the mode of goodness. These are karma and jnana. So these material duties refer to family duties and so on. These are material duties. Then that will generate Vairagya and Vidya. Then eventually they will develop faith in maximized bhakti, Pradhanibhuta Bhakti. that I should spend actually most of my time in Navavida Bhakti. And this karma and jnana, these material duties, I should minimize them. And then that kind of bhakti, maximized bhakti, will generate further vairagya and vidya. And then that will generate faith in Kevala Bhakti. I should only engage in devotional service. So then they give up family life, everything they give up. And then through the force of that kind of Kevala Bhakti, exclusive Bhakti, through Vairagya and Vidya, they attain this. So they come to this point in Brahmaloka.
Oh, okay.
Because, see, it takes, they want to get out. They want to go through the experience and get out of material desires.
Okay.
In the second track, see, these people are given faith. Faith always has to be given. You cannot just cultivate it. It has to be given.
Right.
Bhakti Lata Beej, that has to be given.
Right.
Okay. So when they accept that faith, they may also accept not to the complete extent. For instance, the Vaishnava who is spreading that faith, he may be spreading not just faith in minimized bhakti, he may be giving faith in exclusive bhakti, which is actually this. But the recipient may accept only this much, thinking that, okay, I'll go through it slowly. Eventually, I'll come to that point. Okay. So that much of humility everybody has got. But in the second track, they immediately accept faith in maximized bhakti. In Prabhupada's presentation, the way you see during his time, he immediately granted this. I mean, he was pressing for this, but you see a lot of his disciples immediately accepted this. That they just gave up home, they gave up, home, whole family gives up home and joins the temple.
Yeah.
Whole family, husband, wife, children, they give up home and join the temple, agree to live an austere life.
Right.
So there you see family life is completely minimized.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. To such an extent, even in the education of the children, they are only taught devotional service. They are not even taught some CBSE, this thing, that thing, and all that. Okay. So that is maximized bhakti.
Okay.
Then there is this type of faith, exclusive bhakti, that even I don't even want that. I don't even want that. So this third track, they are not family people. They are
brahmacharis and all.
they are, you can say in the renounced person. Could be a man, could be a woman also, but they don't accept any duty other than Navavida Bhakti.
Okay.
Whereas in the second track, their psychology is they will consider this karma and jnana duty within the do the needful. And they will actually count it as a part of dasyam. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam. So they will bring in their material duties within that. So it's just a small little, it's just one sabji in the meal.
Okay.
That's all. Now in the first track, that is not how they think. In the first track, they consider their daily engagement in bhakti. For instance, chanting the holy names of God, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. They consider all of these direct engagement in devotional service. They think that itself is just a sabji in the thali.
Okay.
Okay. They have, in other words, they have brought Krishna into their life. Whereas here, Krishna is not just brought into the life, Krishna has become the center of their life.
Right.
And then here, Krishna is not just center in their life, Krishna is the only life.
Okay. Yes.
Which you have.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu, we lost you for a few minutes.
So in the third track,
Yeah.
third track is the fastest. First track is the slowest.
Right.
The perfection of life can be attained in track 3 within a few days, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Oh, okay.
In track 2, one has to wait for one full lifetime and then he has to die.
Okay.
In track 1, it takes several lifetimes.
Okay.
So whether you want to go by flight or train or just want to go by a bullock cart, that's up to you.
Okay. Right. So,
So
among
different,
these, yeah, please.
so different people have different choices, even though the Supreme Lord is coming and bestowing his mercy, different people accept them to different degrees also.
Okay. And so within these tracks, in terms of having desire, the third track people don't have desire, even choice in terms of what kind of liberation they want.
First of all, they don't want liberation. The third
Correct.
track is this, it's like in Lord Chaitanya's teachings, no? You don't even desire liberation.
Right, right, yes.
You don't, what it practically means is you don't desire even to become free from material unhappiness. So that it's almost inconceivable how somebody could be like that. Because if you fall sick, you immediately call for a doctor. Okay, that is almost instinctual, we will say. But in track 3, they are so obsessed with Krishna that they're not even bothered about that.
Right.
Actually,
So
we keep talking about this Raga Marga, Vidhi Marga, Raga Marga. That track 3 is Raga Marga. Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains it.
Okay. So the track 2 people would have some desires as to what kind of liberation they would like to have.
Yeah. Track 1 is what is presented by Madhvacharya, from whatever I have understood.
Okay.
His process is a slow process.
Okay.
And in track 2, that is the Ramanuja system very neatly fits into track 2.
Okay.
The Ramanuja system, it is very normal to desire liberation.
Okay. But the track 1 people, it's not necessary that they would only go up to Vaikuntha. They could also go all the way up to Goloka.
How? If you have a desire for liberation, how can you enter into Goloka?
Oh, okay. Okay. So that practically rules out the possibility of going into.
No. Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually says that we should first of all situate ourselves as proper Swanishthas and then serve Parinishthita devotees and become a Parinishthita, then serve Nirapeksha devotees and become Nirapeksha. So he's talking about cross-track progress.
Okay.
He's a very practical and realistic thinker.
Okay.
He understood that vast majority of people who take to Hari Bhakti, they're filled with so many material desires.
Yeah,
So,
because I mean, from what I understand, many of us also start like that only, no, Prabhu, because we have jobs and we take this as being, I'll give a couple of hours for Bhakti Riksha, nothing more.
So it's practically track 1 only.
Yeah.
Potential track 1. If I'm sitting in a potential track 1, if I'm sitting in a bullock cart and I keep thinking that, I can reach my destination in 1.5 hours, I'm in a fantasy. Because I can reach in 1.5 hours only when I catch a flight. If I go in a bullock cart, it's going to take probably 10 days. So, and on top of it, you may not reach the exact destination also. Exactly. Or I can say you attain the destination, but you don't attain the highest floor within that destination. Something like that.
So though Prabhupada actually said track 2 for the devotees, but then not many of us may fit into
No. Prabhupada's point was track 3.
Okay.
Obviously, how many times he has said, ultimately we have to give up eating, sleeping, mating, different thing, and fully engage in devotional service.
Right.
So nothing is surprising here. It's just that. That's one of the reasons why I keep saying we should read Prabhupada's books, because when you don't read Prabhupada's books, then we may very easily dilute his own teachings. So it's very important that we hear Prabhupada as he is.
Okay.
One of the reasons why I say should read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita with his explanations, so that you actually get to see it. This is what he's saying. But if you think that he's just saying some theory, but in reality it's not like that, then you're deluding yourself. It is exactly the other way around. What he's speaking outside of the books is just to encourage. What he's saying in the books is the fine print.
Okay.
So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his way of presentation is, first of all, you become fixed as a Swanishta.
Okay.
Don't go lower than that.
Okay.
Then you take the next step, become a Paranishthita. Don't go lower than that.
Mm.
Then you become a Nirapeksha. Don't go lower than that.
Right. So effectively, that also means it's not going to be doable in one lifetime. It may take more than one lifetime, isn't it?
It may take several lifetimes, but Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's way of thinking was well reflected by Prabhupada, that do everything needed in order to attain the highest goal within one lifetime.
Okay.
Just like in some schools, they are very strict even in their mock exams. That is good training, because when you go for a public exam, these students will perform well. Sometimes they may give mock tests which appear to be more difficult than the public exams if you look at 10 years history. But that is very useful, because then what we will consider to be very difficult, you will be able to achieve it very easily. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's policy was that, and Prabhupada also followed that. Followed that very much, very much.
Okay, Prabhu. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Okay. I thought there was another question. Leela Madhuri Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you. Prabhu, my first question in this discussion, you said that Prabhupada said about the third track only, but the very famous book itself is...
Ultimately, we need to come to that point. Ultimately, you need to come to that point. Doesn't mean that everybody has to officially become sannyasi. But you have to come to that point where you give up all other activities, all other responsibilities, only engage in the activity. Now, whether you want to do it at home or outside home, that's your choice. But that is a Nirapeksha. Nirapeksha by definition is one who is indifferent to sinful activity, indifferent to sinless material activities. He has no other duty, he or she have no other duty. That is the only thing they want to do. They just want to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. That's all.
Then how to understand the word back to Godhead, Prabhu? Going back to home, back to Godhead.
That is what is the method by which you go back home, back to Godhead.
Is it not a liberation?
No, if you want to attain the kingdom of God in order to experience the happiness of liberation, that is a moksha vancha. But if you want to go to the Supreme Lord in order to please Him, that is different. That is premavat pashadatva. That is a desire to serve the Supreme Lord. Those who have a desire to please the Supreme Lord, they have a desire to also serve the Supreme Lord. But they may, if Krishna tells them, you serve me in the material world, they'll happily accept that also. Even though they know that material world is a very miserable place. And they are also material. It's not that when you attain prema bhakti, fire will not burn when you touch it. Fire will burn. If you touch ice, it will be cold only. But you don't care, because you want to make Krishna happy. You have no sense of any selfish happiness, which is something that we cannot imagine right now, because we are so contaminated and our contamination is so all-pervading inside our subtle body. We are not able to imagine that. But when we are blessed by those kinds of associates of the Lord, like our Parampara Acharyas, for instance, then we are able to conceive of that. We are able to think about making the Lord happy. It's just selfless affection in its perfected stage. So when one has selfless affection, even in this material world, if a mother has selfless affection for a child, she willingly undergoes so much of trouble and difficulty. It's not that because she has selfless affection, that trouble ceases to be trouble. It's still painful only. It's painful, but she is willing to go through that pain because she is not bothered about that pain. So, at least logically, we can infer that when one has love for the Supreme Personality of God, its lotus feet, then he simply wants to please Him. So obsessed with making Krishna happy, not bothered about whether I am experiencing material happiness or whether I'm experiencing material unhappiness. That is the great treasure given by Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami.
Yes, Prabhu. And during the session, you were talking about Mishra Bhakti, mixed Bhakti. So there you were telling Jnana, Karma, Jnana and Vairagya also is a Mishra Bhakti. So what is that Vairagya
We will see that.
in
We will
Bhakti?
see that. We will see that. Now, there are various practices of Vairagya in Vedic culture.
Okay.
We will see all these things. Sanatana Goswami Prabhupada, he will explain all of this. Uttara Devi has brought out these things. This itself shows how sharp her intelligence is. She has heard the first. Imagine if someone reads the Bhagavatam and then reads the first part of Bhagavatamrita. How many of us will be able to come to the conclusions that Uttara Devi has come to? So that itself shows that she is grasped very sharply. She could understand the subject matter. But just for our clarification, because we cannot even understand this much, the first 4 chapters of the second part itself will go into this in great detail so that we begin to understand all of this in greater detail. All right, I'll stop with this.
What is this Prema Parabhakta? What is
We
that
will,
meaning?
we'll see that. It means one who is,
That also.
yeah, there are different statuses of devotees. These are
Yes,
like the Pandavas. These are like the Pandavas. All right.
Yes, Prabhu. We'll wait for that. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.